Hello everyone, I am Sachin, subject matter expert 9sim.com, welcoming you all to another interesting video. Today we will be looking back at the ancient history of iron and steel industry, how iron and steel came to our lives, what are the things that made this possible so that in this modern era we could possibly use steel in various sectors for numerous applications, right from the medical appliances to the infrastructure development and many more. Now, how did iron came to existence? If you look back to the conceptual history of different ages, there are three eras which dominated. The first is Stone Age, which is 2.5 million years ago. Then comes the Bronze Age, which is around 2300 BC. Then after comes the Iron Age, which was around 1500 to 1200 BC. Now, the Stone Age. The early men have created flint stones and bones, extensively used by primitive people as arrowheads, spear point, knives, and other scrapping and cutting tools. It was also used for lighting fire till invention of matches in the early 1800. It was also widely used as the ignition system for flintlock rifles until the mid 1800. It came to an end somewhere around 10,000 BC. After that, there comes the Bronze Age. Due to the ease of extraction of copper and bronze, these were the earliest metal which are extracted, and from there on the Bronze Age begins. Now the bronze contains around 10% tin and 90% copper. Industrialization for these metals also took place way back and before iron. Some details and applications of these earliest metal extraction are copper for making heavy tools, gigantic planes around 2000 BC. Zinc was first extracted in India as early as 4th to 3rd century BC. In the 12th to 13th century, it was massively produced through distillation by heaps of retort which was found in Rajasthan. India was the first country to master the complex technique to extract metallic zinc at mass scale. Then after few years later comes the Iron Age. The earliest use of iron occurred before the time of written history. Man had recognized early that the iron comes from sky. In an poetry, an old Egyptian mentioned the material has been called the iron of the sky. Iron melting seems to have appeared to about 2800 BC in Europe. Thereafter, in an Indian subcontinent, the Iron Age begins somewhere around 1500 to 1200 BC. It is impossible to put an exact date for Iron Age in India, but it is somewhere around the end of Indus Valley civilization and the early Vedic period. Now, in North India, the earlier iron objects was discovered and can be traced to Ahara culture around 1400 BC, located on the banks of Ahara river of southeastern state of Rajasthan. Along with it, Haryana and western UP with Yamuna and Ganga river found traces of early iron in India. The objects which are made includes nails, hooks, bar, spikes, axes, saucepans, spoons, arrowheads, door fittings, etc. Coming to the South India can be traced back to the megalithic culture of South India, which was found in peninsular India, concentrated in the states of Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Telangana, and it takes place around 1200 to 300 BC. Now, iron in that period is used for making swords, arrowheads, etc. Many of the foreign kings have been gifted with swords and ingots by the Indian counterparts, which are made of iron and steel. Ancient history and record shows that in Gupta period, which is also referred as the golden age of Indian History. During that time, iron and steel exported outside India to the European countries. During the 14th century, European scholars studied Indian casting and metallurgical processes. Indian metallurgy under Mughal emperor produced some excellent small firearms, which were considered stronger and much more accurate than their European counterparts. During the colonial era, the British were very much aware of the indigenous mining and metallurgical power of Indian subcontinent. This is also one of the reasons why British government introduced the Arms Act in 1878. This came right after the revolt of 1857. Now, history shows that many monuments were built which are made up of metals. One of them is the famous iron pillar which is located in Delhi, which is around 23 feet and 8 inch, constructed by King Chandra around 300 AD, which has an excellent corrosion resistance. Further moving forward, to extract iron or molten steel, there are numerous furnaces developed. One of them was Bloomery Hearth Furnace, consisting of a low underground or a shaft furnace in which iron and charcoal was melted down to a lump of 300 kg of weight. This lump contained slag that was later removed by repeated heating and forging. The natural air stream by using the wind blowing up the hills. The productivity of the furnaces were continuously improved by increasing the airflow. These Bloomery Hearth furnaces has large shaft with an height of about 3 to 5 meter, round oval or rectangular shaped. These furnaces were top charged and bottom blown with 1 or 2 tours situated around about 0.5 meter above the bottom stone of the furnace. At the bottom of the furnace, it had a drawing hole provided in the wall for extracting the blooms. In the Middle Age, the Bloomery Hearth mills were equipped with air blasts that were driven by manpower or water wheels. With time, the height of the furnace walls were increased, leading to the development of the Bloomery furnaces. These furnaces delivered a product that was forgeable after the removal of the slag, but in distinct bigger dimensions. Now, the first refining processes of the hot metal was the Purdle processes that were used the oxygen containing combustion gases of the coal for the oxidation of carbon. To accelerate the refining process, the melt was purdled. The steel produced in the Purdle processes had a pasty constitution. This shortage of wood charcoal led in the 18th century to the introduction of coke, which acts as a fuel and a reducing agent. As thereafter, a retort developed which is well known for its enhancement of productivity, known as blast furnace. Slowly and steadily, the production increased after the Bessemer, which was developed in 1855. In the later part, a regenerative process was developed which is known as the open hearth furnace. As a result of the exothermic reactions in the liquid steel which could be produced, later smelting in an electric furnace has been introduced for the production of certain high-grade steels. Now, in India, if you could see, the first modern steel plant was established during the British rule, which was located at Kulti, Bonpur in 1870, and the production began in 1874. Right after that, TISCO, which was established in 1907. The construction of the steel works was started a year later. Pig iron was first made in 1911 and was the first ingot of steel was rolled in 1912, which by 1939 became the largest steel plant in British Empire. It consists of two 350-ton blast furnaces and four 40-ton open hearth furnaces, a steam-driven by blooming mill, and a rail and structural mill, together with the necessary coke ovens. a machine shop, and a foundry. To meet the demand of the Allies during World War I, it supplied 1500 miles of rails and no less than 2 lakh tons of steel. By 1939, the production had risen to 8 lakh tons. The outbreak of World War II put a heavy burden on the works, which had to work to its full capacity to meet the urgent demands. The peak production of 8,39,000 tons of saleable steel was attained in 1942. This began a new phase of research and development which resulted in the production of not only high tensile structural steels such as Tiscor or Tiscrom, but also other special alloy steels such as bulletproof plates, stainless steel for surgical instruments, and high speed and other types of tool steels. Looking at such high demands, few other plants have also been developed. Naming the few is the Iron and Steel Company started operation in 1918 at Hirapur, situated around 4 miles from Asansol and 150 miles from Calcutta. The company was set up solely for the purpose of manufacturing pig iron for export. The plant originally consisted of 2 blast furnaces with a rated capacity of 500 ton a day. Another one is the Mysore Iron and Steel Works. In 1918, a small charcoal blast furnace was erected at Bhadravati by the government of Mysore to produce 20,000 tons of pig iron a year. Now, in the modern era, development of iron and steel industry opens the door for rapid industrial development in India. Almost all the sectors of Indian industry depends heavily on the iron and steel industry for their basic infrastructure. That's all for today. I have tried to take you back to an era where we could see how our ancestors made it possible to make steel and how it groomed over the years. I would love to share the expansion or the rise of steel industry in India, but that will be in another video. Please mention in comment, is this content helpful to you? Thank you very much.